All America, all the time. Sit down, buckle up, and get ready for The Dan Bongino Show.
Man, some breaking news. Just before we came on the air, popping Bill Pulte. You may know Bill Pulte, you know, the company Pulte Homes. Bill Pulte, who is running the Federal Housing Finance Agency now, is been tapped as acting DNI to replace Tulsi Gabbard, who is leaving, I believe, June 30th. So that's some breaking news. Just happened before we got on the air. Didn't have a lot of time to process this. I don't know Bill that well. However, I know he's definitely aligned with the agenda. There's no doubt about that. So we'll see how that works out. I wanted to get that out there. And today, in addition to it being Election Day, California and elsewhere around the country, folks, Californians especially, you got to get out and vote. No excuses. Listen to me before we get to anything else. Sponsors, ad, no, this is important. Take 10 people with you. You still have time. Get on the phone, call 10 of your friends. Did you vote? Did you vote? Did you vote? What do you need to do? Do I need to throw you in the back of my car? What do we need to do to vote in California? You need to bring 10 people with you. Please, I'm going to explain to you why right at the beginning of the show. It is super important. Also, at around 11 o'clock, I've got the author of the amazing new bestseller, Suicidal Empathy, Gad Saad, coming on. You're not going to want to miss that. Coming up at about 11 o'clock. Talking about how these leftists, empathy without ownership. We love illegals. How many illegals you take in your house? None. So you don't love illegal immigration. You just like imposing costs on others because you're full of shit. Let's just be honest. All right, big show today. And again, Election Day. Before you do anything, even if to stop watching the show, that's important. I don't even care. Viewers are not as important as changing the world. Go out and vote. You can watch it later on demand. It is really critically important, although California, it's kind of early. Hey, if prices fell off and your savings aren't, if prices feel off and your savings aren't stretching, consider buying gold like I did with Birch Gold. Text Dan to 989898 for an info kit today. Message and data rate supply. Thanks, Birch Gold. Today's show also brought to you by Brick House Nutrition. Weight loss injections. You've seen them everywhere. Here's the catch. About 15% of users quit. A lot of them wind up putting on the weight again because of cost. Another 15% stop because of side effects of those weight loss injections. A while back, I told you, especially after the whole bout with cancer, I had put on some weight. I was about 238. You can go back and watch the videos yourself. You don't even take my word for it. I didn't like it. You know, I was like, I'm going to be strong, but a lot of goo came along. You don't like goo. Goo is no good. My joints were getting beat up too. I had to lose some weight. Called up Miles. I said, hey, man, you got anything coming out? He said, yeah, lean. The doctors at Brick House Nutrition helped design Lean, L-E-A-N. And here's why. Weight loss shots work by helping control blood sugar and appetite, so you eat less. There's no real argument there. The shots can work for many people and do work, but Lean was doctor formulated to do similar things naturally and without injections. Lean helped tackle my hunger and help support steady energy without constant cravings. I lost well over 30 pounds on it. I needed to. My joints feel a lot better now. And Lean, L-E-A-N, did something injections don't. It helped my body turn fat into energy, so I burn fat instead of storing it. My favorite part, Lean is a nutritional supplement, not an injection. There's no prescriptions, no needles. I lost weight with Lean, kept it off, by the way. I'm about 202 this morning, got a scale in my house, and I believe you can too. So try Lean. Go to brickhousenutrition.com/Dan. Use promo code Dan for 20% off. That's a big savings. Try Lean, brickhousenutrition.com/Dan. Promo code Dan for 20% off. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. The product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, prevent any disease. Not a substitute or alternative for care from a healthcare provider. Thank you, Brick House Nutrition. Give Lean a try. All right, fellas, let's go. Folks, it's Election Day in California and around the country elsewhere. This, not that you need any other incentive to vote. I get it, the Bongino Army, you guys are diehards. We have a huge audience in California, by the way. You know, you can do these analytics. If you're watching, like, I don't know your name. I mean, unless you're in the chat. But we can find out where a lot of the people are watching from through analytics. We have a huge audience in California. It's top 5 for us. Easy. Now, a lot of that's because California is a big state. It's not complicated math. But I get all the time, like, people are like, oh, man, you must have a small audience in California. No, we don't. It's huge. It is an enormous audience. Why is it important in places like California, even in blue states? New York's not today, but even if it was New York on a ballot, why you say, oh, I give up? No, don't give up. Folks, If we don't finish in California, listen to how the math works, in a jungle primary, which is what this is. Everybody, Republicans, Democrats, are all in one big primary. There's no Republican side, Democrat side, nothing. If you don't show up and vote, the top two finishers will go on to a runoff. If Republicans don't show up and give up, okay, here's what's going to happen. The top two finishers in the LA mayor's race and the top two finishers in the California gubernatorial race are going to be Democrats. You're like, Dan, it doesn't matter. We're going to lose in November in the midterms. Even if you believe that, which I concede nothing, but even if you believe that in November, it doesn't make a difference. Even if Spencer Pratt finishes second and Steve Hilton finishes second or Bianco finishes second, they're still going to lose in November. I want you to think about what you're saying. If you don't show up today and vote, and two Democrats are on the ballot in November on election day, Republicans aren't going to show up at all. Well, why would I care? Because there are Republicans all over California. You've got local races. You've got congressional races. You've got a good bunch of Republican seats in California, even with redistricting, we have to save. If there's no Democrat statewide, no Republican, on the ballot statewide because nobody shows up today and it's two Democrats, do you have any idea what that's going to do to turnout? Hey, show up and vote even though there's no Republican on the statewide ballot? Folks, nobody's telling you that. Well, good commentators are. You've got to show up and vote. Even if we lose, and I concede nothing, having a Republican on the ballot statewide and in LA, one of the biggest cities in the country, is going to drive massive turnout by Republicans that's going to filter down ballot. You got to think tactically. It is critical we show up. It's how the Democrats do this in red states all the time and wind up maintaining little pockets of control. You got to show up. All right, I wanted to get to this too because I'm going to get back to the LA mayor's race in a second. Election day, big day, a ton going on. However, I saw this yesterday, and folks, this has got to be one of the craziest court decisions I've seen in a long time. Does anybody in the audience, in the chat or elsewhere, dispute the fact that the President of the United States, whether it's Donald Trump, Joe Biden, George Bush, or Barack Obama, is the commander-in-chief of our military? Does anybody dispute that? If you do, you're watching the wrong show. Go to one of those lefty shows where they don't know basic civics, okay? Donald Trump is the commander-in-chief. He is the president. It's not him personally. It's the office he occupies. Donald Trump has decided via executive order that there are trans people in the military with these medical requirements and demands and hormone manipulation that are not a good fit for a machine designed to kill the enemy. That's it. Judge was like, wow, can't discharge. Sorry. It's unconstitutional. Unconstitutional, guy's the commander-in-chief. Put up the Malugin and the Mark Hemingway tweet. This is the craziest thing I've ever seen. There was a community note on this. You can look it up yourself. But breaking. In a 2-1 ruling, a federal appeals court finds the Trump administration policy to ban transgender individuals from serving in the U.S. military is unconstitutional. Goes on to mention the name. The community note, to be fair, says the appeals process protects only the specific active duty transgender plaintiffs from discharge, but upholds the policy's ban on new transgender enlistees. That's not good enough. Mark Hemingway summed it up beautifully. This is insane. You can't serve if you have like a peanut allergy, but taking large amounts of mood-altering exogenous cross-sex hormones around heavy weaponry is okay? Like, this is the craziest thing I've ever seen. We have Gad Saad coming on later again about his book, Suicidal Empathy. You want to talk about suicidal empathy? This is it. The military is designed for one thing, lethality, killing the enemy in a complex, dangerous world of death to America bumper sticker holding Iran's number one finger foamy people. This is not a social experiment, the military. Do you want to die? The answer to leftists must be yes. It is suicidal empathy. The title of his book. They must want to die. What you do with your body after the age of 18 when you're a legal adult is up to you. I don't have to agree with it. Do whatever you want to do. I don't agree with it, but it's your body. You want to cut your unit off or cut your breasts off or whatever, you do you. One, we don't have to pay for it. And two, that is not a good fit for the world's most lethal killing machine that upholds democracy here and in some places around the world when they're allies of the United States. That is not a thing. This is the craziest freaking court decision I have ever seen. I really hope this quickly makes its way through the court. I am getting so tired of this ridiculous argument about, men should be playing in women's sports, basically beating the shit out of our girls at boxing and volleyball and track. That is not a thing. We live in a complicated world that is zero sum. Whatever you give to a boy or a man in women's sports, you are taking from a woman or a girl trying to get a scholarship, trying to get a medal, trying to get a sponsorship contract. I mean, what part of this don't you understand? This is a grotesquely unpopular position. I'm a conservatarian. I'm not telling you what to do with your life. I saw a massive fight break out on the 5 yesterday between Jillian and Greg. And Greg was right. This is a solvable problem. If your biology dictates you are a male or a female, you have one category you should be able to compete in. And whatever issues you have with your own born sexuality, take care of it yourself. The taxpayers don't have to fund it, whether in prisons or in the military. And we certainly have the right and reserve the right, Donald Trump as the commander-in-chief, to be selective about what components he puts into a war machine that is designed for one thing, however hard it is to hear, to kill people who want to kill us first. That's the hard facts. I'm sorry this thing didn't get more of a traction yesterday. And I debated this morning with the guys the title of today's show because it is election day and it's an important one, putting that in there. But I had to hit this at the beginning because I'm really stunned. Like, this is where we're going now as a country. Chief Robin Brooks in the chat. Bee allergy is disqualifying, even for the Navy. And we don't even have bees at sea. Excellent point. No, this is a big no, and I can only hope this is litigated quickly. But what is that, Bostock? We got to do something about that. This is national suicide. A lot of this stuff we're engaged in. All right. I mean, because it's primary day in California. I already said it, 10, 10, and 10. That's your job. I've done my homework with our Florida elections coming up. I've probably told 200 people, get out and vote, grab people, drive them there, teletransport them there. You ever see the movie The Fly with Jeff Goldblum? Was it Vincent Price, the early one? Teletransport, just don't put a fly in the chamber too so the DNA don't mix. Get them to some election location. If they've got a mail-in ballot in California, they do that mass mail-in balloting garbage out there. We're stuck with the system now. Make sure they mail their ballot back. It takes nothing to just email a group of 10 people. Hey, did you guys send your ballot back? It's really important. We have got to get a Republican on the general election ballot in California, or we're going to lose those congressional seats too, and a ton of local seats. It is critical. The do matters. The talk is cheap. We've got to do. Folks, there's no substitute for action. There just isn't. I want to show you this one last time. This is from the Bill Maher Show. This was Spencer Pratt on the Bill Maher Show, and he's talking about something I want to dig into here because it's election day and you have a choice of this conflict of visions, hat tip Thomas Sowell. Do you want growing socialism and theft of your money to redistribute to drug dealers and fentanyl floppers? Or do you want free market entrepreneurialism, growing, exploding business, economic wealth, medical advances, material science, technology? You have two choices. There's no third way anymore. Los Angeles is ground zero for this. And the irony of the leftist socialist approach that is flowing through the veins of Los Angeles politics right now is the fact that the socialists are the greediest people of all. They don't hate millionaires. They are millionaires. They just hate the class of millionaires that built businesses. Spencer Pratt has a really good take on politics. The guy's got a natural, maybe it's from reality TV, I don't know. Again, I don't know him. I'm just telling you, given the choices now, he's the clear choice in Los Angeles. Get out and vote. Here he is talking about exactly this component of hypocritical far leftism. How it's not that the left hates millionaires. They are millionaires. They hate free market millionaires. They just want different millionaires, people that steal money and make themselves millionaires. This is a great point. Check this out.
I feel like people are all hyped on socialism because they're like, everything's so expensive. America's failed. Give me money. But what they're forgetting is all the people that these socialists are saying they're taking the money and giving, they're going to leave. And then they're not going to have any money to take from these people to give to you. I keep telling people the way we get you money is stopping the socialism, letting the successful rich people build businesses, build restaurants, put money into your pocket because there's more jobs, there's more opportunity. That's how we actually get you more money. To lie to you and tell you, we're going to tax these rich people. We already tax so much in LA, in California. I can't even comprehend taxing more. What's happening is we tax these people and then other rich people, this champagne socialist scammers, steal that money because they're all connected to the people taxing them. And then the people that should see the money, the communities, the Boys and Girls Clubs, the parks, the actual infrastructure doesn't see that money because different rich people stole the money that was being taxed from the rich people.
Hat tip Club Random with Bill Maher, his show, and Over the News for putting that out there on X. Folks, listen to me, please. Leftists, you got me? Beam in. You got me? You locked in right now? You got missile lock on my eyeballs? I love when you guys do the close-up. It's hilarious. Even if you despise millionaires, let's say I capitulate that point. You're allowed to hate whoever you want as long as you don't do anything illegal. You are perfectly entitled because you have a God-given right to ideological beliefs that are not crimes, and it's not a crime to despise millionaires. Even if you hate millionaires, and we concede that point, you hate eat the rich, all this stuff. Don't you understand that the ideology you subscribe to is doing nothing but shuffling deck chairs and making a different set of millionaires who didn't earn it? And I'll prove it to you right now. I always bring receipts. The people telling you you should give government more of your money are getting rich stealing your money. Meanwhile, the people who become millionaires in the business world, I'm not telling you there's not rapacious, horrible people out there, that have to sell you a product you need. People at Apple became wealthy, even though it's a left-leaning, I don't even like their ideology. They made good phones, so people bought them. They didn't steal anything from me. They didn't steal we got a pad, an iPad. It's helpful for the show. I wish their corporate ideology was different, but they didn't steal anything from me. I'm allowed to not like their ideology, but acknowledge the simple fact that they didn't steal anything from me. The difference with government, you subscribing to Los Angeles deep blue, New York deep blue, Mamdani style politics, is they actually are stealing from you because it's not theirs. These people are revolutionaries. This party, whether it's in Los Angeles or in California writ large, these people with this new far left socialist progressivism with no check on the ideology, there will not be a second-term moderate Bill Clinton or JFK to come and save you. Folks, these are revolutionaries and they are frauds. The AOCs of the world, the Elizabeth Warrens and the Bernie Sanders that are leading this movement, Karen Bass, Mamdani, all of them, this will lead to one place and one place only: death, destruction, economic collapse, because it has happened every time. And no, it's not going to be a new set of people that are going to figure it out. I'll bring this up with Gad Saad later. I know the leftists keep telling you, I know we don't have a successful model anywhere in the world of communism working. We just need a new set of people. No, the old set of experts sucked because experts don't understand your personal problem because they have no expertise in your life. There is no one that's going to save you from this. They are revolutionaries and they are frauds. Are you sure you want this? I'm so passionate about it because I've lived in blue states most of my adult life before I made it to the free state of Florida. Maryland, New York. I've lived in blue states. I've run in blue states. I know what it's like. These people subscribe to this bullshit ideology and these people are all frauds. Here's a perfect example. And the only reason I use Bernie today and not Mamdani and AOC or Liz Warren is because I spread the wealth around, pun intended. These are the ideological leaders of this new suicidal leftist movement. I want to show you this interview Bernie Sanders did. Bernie Sanders is asked a very simple question. Hey, man, you keep talking about like DEI and unearned opportunities and how you should kind of spread the wealth around. But you're a U.S. senator. You're an old white dude. Like, why do you run? His answer, you have to listen to this. This guy's answer is a complete libertarian conservative answer for himself. Oh, I believe we should disregard age and stuff and apply merit. What the f- are you talking about? You're telling everyone else it's the opposite. Just not when it applies to you. Listen to this epic fraud. This is your golden calf. This is your liberal god. Check this out.
We have got to look at candidates not by the color of their skin, not by their sexual orientation or their gender, and not by their age. I mean, I think we have got to try to move us toward a non-discriminatory society which looks at people based on their abilities, based on what they stand for.
Hat tip Maze Moore. A lot of hat tips for Maze today on X. Great account. Folks, listen to me. Missile lock. This is what I'm talking about when I reference, and I'll discuss later with Gad Saad, the idea of liberal empathy without any ownership at all. Bernie Sanders, we have so much empathy for these groups we've destroyed. The black family, the Hispanic family. They've actually destroyed them through their patriarchal government policies. The black family was doing fine before the government got in the way. So now we've got to make it up and give out these gifts, these jobs, these land acknowledgments and all this other stuff. But no one wants to do it themselves. Leftist, remember the Billie Eilish, the singer of the land acknowledgement? Give back your freaking house, you fraud. Bernie, give up your Senate position and endorse a minority candidate. He won't do it because he doesn't own any of this. He's full of shit. He has empathy with no ownership at all. How many illegals has he taken in? None. How many houses that he owns has he donated to minority family? None. He's full of shit. He's full of it. Hate Trump all you want. At least he was honest. Remember when they asked about the tax code? And he was like, yeah, we use the tax code. That's why they won't change the tax code, because there's carve-outs for rich people like me and we use them. People were stunned. They were like, oh my God, at least he's honest. This guy's a fraud. You're following these people, the Mamdamis and others, off a cliff. You want this in California? These people are phonies. Remember Gavin Newsom during COVID in the French Laundry? That fancy schmancy restaurant he was in? Oh, you guys don't go out to eat McDonald's, but I'll sit here with my foie gras. They're full of shit. Don't believe the hype. What was that, Public Enemy? It's bullshit. At least as conservatives, we give you the truth, even when it's hard to hear. You're not going to empathize your way out of fentanyl floppers dropping their needles for your kids to step on the street. You're either going to incarcerate them or you're going to force them into treatment. That's it. That's it. I got more Bernie coming up in a second. Lich Mob 34. I wish I had your vocabulary, Dan. I learn new words and theories every show. Well, thank you. That's self-praise stinks, so I'll leave that there because it's not self. But thank you very much. I read a lot. I enjoy reading. It's good. Read a book too once in a while. Screens will keep you up at night. All right. What's that? Suicidal. Yeah, here's a book to read. Exactly. Suicidal Empathy. Gad Saad. Good call, Justin. Very nice. Quick break, and I want to show you another. I'm going to do a little chat GPT test. This is why I'm optimistic about the future, by the way. Artificial intelligence, if it uses reason, is not going to be able to lie. You ask liberals in the past, hey, a bunch of these government frauds, aren't they millionaires themselves? Whoa! You ask AI, boom. We'll test that theory out. We'll use ChatGPT. So you can't accuse us of any kind of right-wing bias. Quick break. We'll be right back. Hey, I rely on my car for everything, commuting, quick errands, even those family getaways. I do. So when something's not working correctly, it's more than just a hassle. It's a real pain in the butt. Throws the whole routine off balance. I've been there. You hear that weird noise. Suddenly you're stuck wondering, what's the bill going to look like from this mess? You get these unexpected repairs. No good. Here's the thing. I use CarShield, so does everyone here. They help protect you from those surprise expenses. They've got 24/7 roadside assistance, towing, even rental options, so you're not stranded. Super important, especially during family vacation season. You can take your car to ASE certified mechanics nationwide, and their plans are month to month with low deductibles, which just makes your life really easy. They've been doing this for over 20 years. They cover over 2 million vehicles, and people actually rate them highly, which matters to me because, we recommend products we don't only use ourselves here. Drive with zero worries thanks to CarShield. Right now, CarShield is offering our listeners 20% off by clicking the link in the description, carshield.com, and using code Bongino. Don't let an unexpected breakdown ruin your day. Get covered with CarShield and drive with confidence. Once again, click the link in the description. Use code Bongino now for 20% off. Carshield.com, code Bongino for 20% off. Today's show also brought to you by American Financing. They've been with me for a long time. I'm all about making your wallet fatter, folks. So in today's uncertain economy, American Financing is helping families find a way out of the high-interest debt trap. We're heading into summer, but the economic clouds aren't clearing for a lot of middle-class families. So between inflation and the cost of daily life, you're likely feeling the pressure in your wallet. You've worked hard for your home and probably have more equity than you realize. Yet the summer surge is forcing many to rely on credit cards. You don't want to do that. It's an exhausting cycle, but American Financing understands that 2026 requires a real strategy and a plan. You need a plan. That's why they have salary-based mortgage consultants. With mortgage rates in the fives, their customers are saving an average of $800 a month by wiping out high-interest debt. That's money that stays in your pocket and your wallet to fight back against rising costs. Take advantage of it today. No upfront fees, no pressure. If you start today, you could delay 2 mortgage payments. Big savings. Call American Financing today. The number, 888-994-7660. That's 888-994-7660, or visit them online at americanfinancing.net/Bongino, americanfinancing.net/Bongino. Thank you, American Financing. Thank you, CarShield. We appreciate it. So here we go. Here's this fraud. Why am I playing Bernie Sanders? He's not running because it doesn't matter. The same people running in Los Angeles in the mayor's race and the governor's race are just clones and NPCs of this same pernicious ideology. We're going to fight the oligarchy. We're going to fight the millionaires and the billionaires. He is a freaking millionaire. I'll check in a minute. Here he is saying the economy is rigged, which is ironic because Bernie Sanders has never had a significant free market job where he's created a single thing. He never created like the Sanders Mobile, the Sanders Space Ladder, the Sanders Ectomorph Shield, the Sanders Flux Capacitor. He hasn't created shit but regulations and problems for you as the government boot lands on your neck. And here he is, the balls on this guy, as he got wealthy off you, to talk about a rigged system and the oligarchy. Check this out.
All over this country, working people, including Republicans, understand that the economy is rigged, that the campaign finance system is corrupt, that in fact we need a political revolution.
Folks, here we go with the revolutionary bullshit. Wait, can we stop? Get your chat GPT ready because we're going to test this in a second, okay? So Bernie Sanders wants a revolution, right? You don't know, Dan, he doesn't. He just said it. He just said it. Listen, folks, I'm a realist, okay? I've had a lot of jobs in my life. I'm kind of a nomad. I'm everywhere all the time. I like to do a lot of stuff. I like to test things out, investments, jobs, things. I love it. I'm going to tell you something. One of the most disturbing jobs I ever had was between 1995 and 99 being with the New York City Police Department. I worked in the 7-5 precinct in Eastern New York, which is so bad, there's an actual Netflix series called The 7-5 about the 7-5. That's how bad it was. It was Eastern New York, Brooklyn. How I got sent there is a long story. I'll tell you some other time. However, it was not a great place to work. It was one of the most violent places in the city. And I can't even imagine what soldiers in combat zones go through. However, having seen a far distant but domestic war zone during the drug wars of the Pink Houses and the Lincoln Towers in Eastern New York, Brooklyn, folks, when you're a rookie cop, you're sitting on the dead body because it's the worst assignment around. I was a rookie. I got out of the academy in 97. I was in the cadet program before. When you're a new jack, Officer Bongino, and you're at roll call, number one, nobody trusts you because they think everyone in the 7-5, the new guys, are all internal affairs. So nobody even talks to you, right? You're sitting there at roll call, right? You get these guys who've seen so much death. death every single day. Some of these guys for 20 years. You can see the 1,000-mile stare in their eyes. They'd be like, Bongino, go to the hospital. You're sitting on this guy who's about to die. Bongino, go to this crime scene. Now, when someone gets shot and killed at a crime scene, the medical examiner doesn't show up right away. Someone's got to sit there with the dead body, whether it was in a house or in front of a bodega. I got to tell you, there was me and like 5 other guys who were rookies, Billy and this other guy, Anthony. That was us every day. You have any idea how many dead bodies I sat there in front of? You start putting Vicks Vapor Rub up your nose to block out the smell. That you get so used to it. Why do I bring that up? A lot of these limousine liberals and lipstick liberals, you really want a revolution? You want neighbor shooting neighbor? You ever take a trip to like Gettysburg or something like that? Antietam? You sure you want that? You notice all these people who sit there with their fancy iPads and their high-end cars and their nice hybrids and their Teslas and whatever. These limousine liberals with their 7, 8-figure, 9-figure expendable, dinner fund from their job to go out and eat their foie gras and their fancy wines. Do you have any idea what it's going to look like in a revolution in an open war zone in the middle of your streets? Of course you don't, because you're full of shit. You have never seen death in front of your face, standing behind police tape, when a mom shows up because her 13-year-old son was shot in the face in a drive-by and wasn't even the target. The mom they just collapse every single time. And after what I went through this weekend with this shit, I am tired of your bullshit. You want a revolution? Are you really sure about that? You better ask yourself how much death you're comfortable with if you've never seen it, because you don't have an example for your A/B test. And this is all coming from a group of limousine liberals. Cue up your chat GPT. Ask him a pretty simple question. Is Bernie Sanders a millionaire? He rails against millionaires and billionaires. Is he one? I thought he doesn't like them. There we go. It's live from Justin's screen. Even spelled everything right. Even capitalized it today. Good job. Is Bernie Sanders? Yes! Bernie Sanders is a millionaire. What did I keep this up? What did I tell you about how AI is going to destroy liberalism if they just get out of the way? Because you can't build a system of reason and logic and have it lie. Yes, Bernie Sanders is a millionaire. Public financial disclosures, tax returns, and reporting over the past several years show that Sanders accumulated wealth primarily through book advances and royalties from best-selling books, including his Senate salary and real estate holdings. He's acknowledged not only this, being a millionaire since around 2016, after the success of his books. So just to be clear, capitalism, in other words, the idea that people are allowed to own private property, trade their labor for a wage, and the way we get resources is through a price mechanism, not rationing. That's like capitalism. I know leftists. Write that down, rewind the tape. I know you don't know what capitalism even is. You ask them to define it. I guess great. It's great. Sounds like Bernie Sanders subscribes to all 3 of those. He sells his book for a price, correct? Am I wrong? Anyone in the chat? Am I wrong? His book is a price. It's not rationed, right? He has private property. Look, he acknowledged that this is from real estate holdings. Really, he actually owns land. He's the bourgeois. That's kind of weird. And he trades his labor for a wage. It says it right there that he made money. His authoring his books, his labor, he made money from books, and his Senate holders, which is a job. It's a job. It's paid for by the taxpayer, but it's kind of weird. It sounds like Bernie Sanders is a capitalist who doesn't believe in DEI in his own life, and yet these people who subscribe to this Bernie Sanders leftism are on the ballot right now in California, destroying your life while they get rich off the fruits of your labor. Double-barreled middle finger from the left. Really? Justin, just Bernie Sanders books. This is Justin's computer, although he didn't capitalize Bernie Sanders on this one. He's trying to mess with me now. Are these really his books? The Fight Oligarch? No way. It's okay to be angry about capital. This guy seems really active. He's a bullshit artist. And so is Karen Bass. And so is Gavin Newsom. who's not running again. So is Javier Baccaria. So is Tom Steyer. Who are these people I'm bringing up? They are all running today in California as leftists to screw up your state even more while they get rich. Tom Steyer's a freaking billionaire. Congratulations, Tom. He's running as a far leftist against billionaires. He is one, bro. Folks, this is empathy without ownership. It's easy to be empathetic. Oh, the illegals, must be horrible in their home country. Really? How many of you take it in, dipshit? Oh, none. So you don't give a shit. You don't care. You just want illegals in other people's communities. School choice. I don't think parents should get school choice. Where do your kids go to school? Oh, private schools, Sidwell Friends. Oh, so F everyone else? Poor families who can't afford Sidwell Friends? And East Tuna Fish Private University for $60,000 a year with the elitist snob professor. They can. My kids go to a Catholic school. And you know what? We contribute to the Catholic school so other people can take advantage of the opportunity. What the do you do? You don't do shit. You don't do anything. You collect money from your book revenue. Karen Bass, the mayor of Los Angeles, while your freaking house was burning down, was over in Africa. The hell was she doing over there? No, she wasn't. Look it up. I said it last night on Jesse Waters' show. That was it her second time? And even worse, there were warnings. Hey, there could be wildfires like the Palisades and elsewhere. She said, double barrel, I'm going over to Africa. I am not kidding. Look it up. She was in Africa when your houses were burning down in LA. She's really empathetic, but takes ownership over none of this. Bernie Sanders, I love DEI. Give minorities opportunities. Okay, what about your seat? No, not my seat, mother. No, not my seat. I didn't mean me. Full of. That's why I can't stand these people. That's why I'm a conservatarian, a conservative libertarian. Because I've got to give you the hard answers. What do you do about people doing drugs in the street? You freaking put them in jail. But they're struggling in their life. No shit. A lot of people are struggling. Justin, what do you think? Justin's like worth $10 million? He's got to show up to work. And what about him? What about the people who go to work and support the kids? What about people in coal mines who could grow up with freaking black lung trying to support their kids and their families? Bringing that shit in their house every day. They got to take off their clothes on the porch, walk in, like hose themselves down before they walk in their own house. What about that dude? He's not sitting there doing the fentanyl flop in front of his kids. He's busting his ass working for a living. How about we take care of him first? Liberals are full of shit. Folks, Thomas Sowell is a legend. If you don't know him, you should. Sowell. He's an economist, but he's really a philosopher. And he's one of the great geniuses of our time. He's in his 90s now, and I tell you what, the world's going to be a different place without him. Thomas Sowell, in this clip, I want you, this clip is meant to, I'm going to say this ironically, like the government, big government's very powerful. Oh yeah, it's powerful, all right. Here is Thomas Sowell talking about the power of big government, these models, Bernie Sanders, Mamdani, Karen Bass, Javier Baccaria, Steyer, Newsom, and others. Big government does have a lot of power. But ironically, it has the power to destroy more than anything else. Listen to Sowell on this. Check this out.
When they talk about things like this, they talk about the legacy of slavery.
Right.
And I argue, well, empirically, it's not that, it's the legacy of the welfare state. Because as of 1960, which is almost 100 years after slavery ended, the majority of black kids were being raised in two-parent households. But within one generation after the welfare state, that had dropped down to a minority. So that the majority of black kids today are raised in one-parent households. When you think about it, I mean, centuries of slavery and generations of Jim Crow did not destroy the black family, but one generation of the welfare state did.
You keep telling us There has never been a more destructive force in human history than the collective power of government to wipe out entire demographics groups' future. Folks, these people are total frauds, and they always go back to the race argument. The Republicans, you understand, they have nothing on a spreadsheet to run on other than poverty and destruction. I told you, all Karen Bass had to do in Los Angeles to win re-election, the mayor of Los Angeles, in this primary today, all she had to do was one thing: come out and say, hey, man, we've got a serious public safety and drug problem, homelessness problem in LA. I know you're tired of it. That's it. I'm committed to cleaning this up like Rudy Giuliani. She doesn't even have to throw Rudy Giuliani's name out there. Just say, I'm going to clean it up. And I'm telling you, she would have coasted. She couldn't do it because they are addicted to destruction and empathy with no ownership whatsoever. She was off in Africa when the city was burning down. But race is a constant distraction, as Thomas Sowell just put out there. The legacy of slavery. It's more legacy of government. Here, I'm going to prove it to you again. Hat tip again, Mays Moore. Here's Bernie Sanders claiming the Fine People hoax. Remember Donald Trump, who condemned the white supremacists after Charlottesville completely and said it, yet the left still insists he said they were fine people? And he said, and I'm not talking about the white supremacists who should be condemned completely. That's the quote. Here's Bernie saying, like, gosh, I can't believe it. Donald Trump, all these Nazis. And you're going to see a side-by-side of now Bernie Sanders talking about Graham Plattner, the Nazi tattoo guy on his chest, running in Maine, who seems to think the guy with the actual Nazi tattoo on his chest. I said last night on Jesse, the media's like, well, it resembles a Nazi tattoo. That's because it's a freaking Nazi tattoo, dumbasses. The Nazi tattoo guy is okay. But the guy who condemned white supremacists and you lie about the Fine People hoax isn't? These are the frauds I'm talking about. Check this out.
When you have a president commenting on a march by Nazis and white supremacists who then declares, well, there are nice people on both sides. Mr. President, there are no nice Nazis.
I'm not overly impressed by a squad of media running around saying, what do you think about the tattoo on Graham Plattner's chest? Between you and me, there might be one or two more important issues.
Folks, listen to me. When there is no compass true north, objective truth in your movement, and you can change your mind in a heartbeat, even on something as severe as a candidate with a freaking Nazi tattoo, I'm sorry, but you are going to be shell-shocked at the future if you continue to elect people who are members of this new Democrat Party. I was reading a story yesterday in the Wall Street Journal, an opinion piece, and it was about Iraqi Jews who stayed during one of the pogroms. And, you know, you see the same story in during the Holocaust and during World War II in Austria and Poland and elsewhere. How they thought, there's no way anyone's going to let this happen, like a mass extermination. Like it wasn't even a thought. A lot of people just stayed around. Now we'll ride this wave of anti-Semitism. And they found themselves dead. Famous last words are, this can't happen here. Folks, these people don't care on the left. There is only one way to handle this ideology, and that's to vote it out. There is no reforming this Democrat Party. No reforming it from the inside anymore. The days of the, Bill Clinton era Democrat Leadership Council where they said, hey, this party's gotten too crazy, we got to pull it back to the center, are over. Listen to me, they are over. I'm not sure the leftists watching my show fully grasp how dangerous this future is. Just listen to their own words. Here is Paul Krugman. This guy won a Nobel Prize for, which is embarrassing. This guy's only known for his economic predictions being wrong. Here he is talking about like the demagnification, like the having to cleanse the country of the Nazis, like a cleansing movement. Do you have any idea how dangerous this stuff is coming out of the mouths of these intellectual leaders on the left? They're not kidding. Check this out.
Defang Trump as much as possible and make sure that neither he nor anybody who follows in his footsteps has power after the next two elections. But beyond that, we really need to do a thorough purging of the United States. We need a demagogification, and that is, I'm not going over the top by using a word that's very similar to the denazification that we pursued successfully after World War II in Germany.
Notice as he talks about his words, purging, a purging of our society, of you, MAGA supporters out there, that he's very clear that, just in case you think he's kidding, I'm not going over the top. Meaning he doesn't consider what he's saying hyperbolic at all. He's not wordsmithing anything. He means what he says, an actual purging. Folks, a candidate in Texas for Congress, Galindo, got 40% of the vote, calling for American Zionists who believe in an ancestral Jewish homeland, calling for them to be put in camps, got 40% of the vote. You've got an election today in California. I know we have kind of like, when it comes to elections, my AP history teacher in high school, my AP history teacher used to talk about how the middle class curse. Basically, we live, because we're the most successful country on earth, with a great middle class. And why is it a curse? Well, it's not a curse economically, but you don't ever think these things can happen here. You don't see a tomorrow as bad as it could be if we continue to let this stuff happen and not fight back. California, you've got an opportunity today, but you've got to get the Republican on the ballot first, or we are going to get our asses kicked in November. That is just a fact. If there is no Republican statewide or in a huge city like LA on a ballot, we are screwed. Folks, the left has no now to run on. Again, this isn't an Eckhart Tolle book about the power of now. However, it is important that you internalize that. We only live in the now. Tomorrow hasn't happened yet. Yesterday's over, but the now is it. It's just a series of nows. That's all it is. The left has no now to run on. They have no yesterday to run on, and they have no future to run on. They don't have a successful model of big government socialism working anywhere in the world. The now is awful for the people living in it, and all they're promising for a series of tomorrows is a series of todays and yesterdays, which is the same as yesterday. When you ask the leftists about, hey, if this model you're talking about with the Bernies, the AOCs, and the Liz Warren is so freaking successful, this idea that we can steal the fruits of people's labor and redistribute it to people like fentanyl floppers out there who haven't earned any of it, if it's so successful, then why is it not successful anywhere? How many of these articles am I going to have to post? Show me. Stop telling me, leftists. Show me why the most popular business in the state of California are freaking rental trucks. Fox News. I could post a montage. You know what? Sorry, guys, but the assignment for tomorrow. Andy, this one's on you, all right? Can you put together a montage? Get me like 10 of these headlines. I'm just going to show of people fleeing liberal states. Just all I need is a headline. Just put them in a montage. Flee Chicago. Flee Illinois. Flee New York. Here's the latest one, Fox Business. And in case you think I'm messing with you, June 1st, 2026. By my measure, that's yesterday. Fleeing for their futures. A California exodus unleashes a Florida gold rush. Folks, I hate when people say that line in all seriousness. I can't stand that. But in all seriousness, Florida's full. We are good. Now, if you're a conservative in California, you want to move down here, there's an application process. Reach out to Justin on Twitter. Justin, give him your handle. He can work it. He's got some connections. For liberals, we're not admitting any new people in Florida. It's all good. You don't even bother submitting your application. Justin will not accept it. We are not accepting any more people. Conservative, we can work something out, okay? We are not accepting new people. If California is so freaking great, why is it that the Snake Plissken Part 2, Escape from LA, is probably the most popular bumper sticker in California right now? The movie was terrible, by the way. First one was good, Escaping from New York. I don't know if they intended that, by the way. Notice it never said Escape from Miami. There was never a third part to that. Don't give them any ideas. Folks, they don't have anything but a series of shitty yesterdays, a shittier now, and shittier promises for tomorrow to run on. Nothing. If the simplest question in the world to ask Javier Baccaria, Steyer, Bass, and all these other leftist lunatics running is if it's so great, why does everyone want to escape? Why are you leading the country, percentage-wise, per capita, raw numbers, in people exiting in a mass exodus from your blue utopia? Because it's not a blue utopia. It's a blue dystopia. And you know it. And you just keep lying to people. Folks, the Dems, I'm not willing to forfeit these midterms. If you are, I'm here to say that is a huge freaking mistake. Yes, we've got our issues, no doubt about it. There's a lot of internal politics going on over the Iran war going on right now. I understand a lot of people are upset. Yeah, there has been a little bit of inflation in the gas and fuel prices. But as I said to you yesterday, you have never been alive at a better time. That's objectively true. It's the safest country you've ever lived in. Again, self-praise stinks. I was happy to be a small part of it, but that's just an objective fact. Murder rate, raw number of murders, crime rates, the border's under control, technology, stock market. People are finally making real income growth in their jobs. Job opportunities. You've never been alive at a better time. There are problems, there are issues, but stop believing the Democrat hype that we're living in this horrible, awful time. Really? That's not even close. They're in total disarray. And for all the drama we have on our side right now, and some of it's just doomerism, that's just paid nonsense, but some of it's understandable. I don't mind the fact that inside our own party, there are disagreements about things like geopolitics, tariff policy, abortion, guns. That's healthy. However, the Dems are in total chaos. They are so, listen to me, man. I've been hearing this from everyone. I got a couple of good sources in the DC non-swamp political realm. The Democrats are freaking pissed that the Bidens, again, are back on the scene reminding everyone of the last 4 years of how awful Biden is. Because when you compare the Trump year and a half plus, so since the campaign, everything we've been going through now, with the 4 years of the Biden malaise, there's no comparison. The Democrats are dying to move on. And the Bidens cannot get off the political scene, these grifter bums. They can't. You got Hunter Biden out there doing podcasts, trying to insert himself on our side to tear up the MAGA movement. You got Hunter Biden, like seriously? Hunter Biden will never, ever be on this show, ever, under any circumstances. Now you've got Dr. Jill Biden, world famous neurosurgeon, back on the scene. The Democrats are pissed. She's asked a question. This isn't about Joe Biden. This is about Kamala. Jill Biden, Jill. Joe Biden too, by the way, both of the Bidens. They hate Kamala Harris so much. They can't stand her. I want you to listen to this and listen to how she's like so delicately trying to avoid unloading on Kamala Harris for asking an endorsement the day Joe Biden called her to say he's going to drop out. You can see the seething in her face as she's trying to dance around this. Check this out.
You said it was back and forth because she wanted him to endorse her at the same time he announced that he was dropping out, and he wanted to just make the announcement of the dropout first, right?
Oh, yeah,
and
sure.
you said you even walked out of the room because it got too tense, maybe?
Well, it was just, I'm telling you, it was so hard. I mean, this is what Joe had worked for all his life. He loved being a statesman. He loved the job of helping the American people. And to give it up, I mean, Rita, he did it for over 50 years of his life. That's a long time. And so at some point, when all of this is going on, it gets a little overwhelming. And yes, I had to walk out.
Folks, they hate each other. Please do not give up on the midterms and do not give up on subsequently 2028 either. Oh, we're going to lose. Stop with the doomerism. We could lose. Yes, of course. It's an election. I'm glad, actually, that people think we could lose because the fear of losing and the anxiety will motivate you to the do and not the talk, where you go and actually do something and pull a lever or fill out a bubble in a ballot. But the fait accompli doomerism, oh, it's all over, forget it, the Democrats are going to steamroll. How they can't even get the Bidens to shut the up. They can't even get their message straight. And they're not even, there's no care in the world for them, by the way, that they all lied about Biden's obvious cognitive decline, possible dementia, Joe Biden, while he was the commander-in-chief and holder of the nuclear football. They covered this whole thing up. They don't even care. They've now changed their story completely. I want you to watch a hat tip Maze Morgan. Here is a side-by-side of Senator Chris Murphy. When Special Prosecutor Robert Hur had said in his report when he interviewed Biden about Hunter and else, and he said, hey, listen, the guy's struggling with memory. He's got a poor memory and stuff. That's all he said. He didn't say I'm diagnosing him with Alzheimer's or dementia. That's all he said. The left went crazy. I've seen Biden. He's sharp as a tack. Joe Biden, this guy could go out and play quarterback for the Patriots tomorrow. Drake May, be careful. Now here's Chris Murphy, after there's no power at stake at all, saying, oh, yeah, man, it changes the story completely. And you want to trust these people now? Folks, as I said about Bernie, Mamdani, Karen Bass, Tom Steyer, Gavin Newsom, and other frauds, Bakary and others, they don't give a shit. They will say anything to grab, obtain power, screw you over, steal your money, and steal your liberty, period. And they don't care that they're on record saying the opposite. Watch, I'll show you. Check this out.
I'm not going to let my constituents be distracted by a special prosecutor who's trying to gain favor within the MAGA movement.
How do you convince the public that Democrats are telling the truth now?
Yeah, listen, I think Democrats do have to be honest about the mistakes that we made in 2024. Obviously, in retrospect, Joe Biden should have stepped away from that race. We should have had an open contest.
They don't care. He doesn't give that he's on the record saying the exact opposite. Oh, we should have had an open contest. Why didn't you say it back then? You want to? What does that have to do with now? You're going to trust these people again now? Oh, what about you Republicans? We had a primary. I voted for Donald Trump. In all of them. We had a primary. Say, oh, you guys are the same. We're not the same. We had the healthy debate. Donald Trump won. Give me this BS. Speaking of debates, you know, it's the summer. You know, I like these kind of comedy bits once in a while, but ladies and gentlemen, I saw this on X yesterday. This is probably the funniest thing I think, candidly, we've ever played on the show in the 10 years we've been on here. Remember the debates when, was it JD or someone who had said that the refugee population in Springfield, Ohio, they were eating the dogs and the cats? I'm sorry, but it's the summer a little bit. I want to put a smile on your face. Do you remember there's just the Kiffness? Put out this little song. Play about a minute of this. You got to smile on a day like today. I'm going to play a clip of Gad Saad after that, but just check this out.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats.
Wow,
they're
wow,
eating
wow, wow.
the pets of the people that live there. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that
Billboard
live
top
there.
100 of all time. Listen.
People of Springfield, please don't eat my cats. Why would you do that? Eat something else.
Wait, I love the chart.
People of Springfield, please don't eat my dog. Here's a catalog of other things to eat.
They're eating the dogs.
You got to get the whoa, whoa, whoa.
They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets.
Mudley's in the chat. Mudley's in the chat.
They're eating the dogs.
Tear it up. Maybe Kamala's laughing. Check that out. Oh, dude. I saw. Why is that in the show? No good reason. Seriously, other than after the Biden-Kamala segment, just because it's freaking funny. And I'm telling you, there's not a video. My gosh, look at that chat. That is like five. There are more. I don't think we've seen. See, proves my point. I don't think we've seen that many Mutleys in a long time. Every single time we played that during the Kamala Harris-Donald Trump race, that place went crazy. Look at those. Even Jasmine was laughing. Makeup artist Jackie had never seen this before. She was like, and Guy cut it off early. We're going over in the pre-show. Guy plays like 10 seconds. I said, Guy, let it play for Jackie. What are you doing? Shame. She's not going to see it outside. She may. I said, you got to play that for Jackie. Let it roll. Even though it cost me an extra minute. Hat tip to Kiffness on that. There's Jackie. She's like, yes, that was awesome. So I do have a great guest coming up for you, Gad Saad, but I just wanted to play this clip, getting back to some serious stuff. This is him with Marissa Street talking about how this, the whole idea of this, suicidal empathy and how these leftists have this idea that society is somehow perfectible if we could just get some new experts in there to steal away power, liberty, and economic freedom away from others. He's coming up in a bit, but I want to play this clip because it's really important. Don't ever fall for the utopia fallacy. It's for suckers. There is no utopia out there. There's only trade-offs, folks. That's the real world. Check this out.
Conservative consistently score higher on happiness than progressives. And I offer a speculative, but I think quite plausible explanation, which relates to your question. The conservative wakes up in the morning and says, yeah, our society may not be perfect, but there's a lot of things that are worth conserving. Hence, I'm conservative, right? So existentially, I'm happy. Yes, we can tinker here and we can tinker there, but overall, we have a good system.
It's a happier perspective.
It's a happier perspective. The progressive wakes up and says, we are a racist, misogynist, we had slavery, we indigenous, transgender, Islamophobia. Around the corner lies unicornia. And so if only I can erase everything that is to your question, I get rid of all existing manifestations of the current evil society, around the corner, I will have existential glee. And so I think that's why there is that reflex in many of these totalitarian ideologies to erase everything that came before you.
Do not miss this interview coming up next because he absolutely nails it. This whole idea of utopian unicornia. How if you're constantly striving for the perfect society, your life is going to be nothing but freaking misery. You know why? You're striving for something that doesn't exist, man. Everything is a trade-off. Enjoy your life. Realize there are trade-offs. Make trade-offs that work for a net present value. Make your life work a little better. And that's it. Enjoy your faith, your family, your country. Stop pretending tomorrow you're going to live in some utopian fairyland. Not going to happen. That's what Karen Bass is running on while the city burned down. And she was in Africa and Baccaria and billionaire Steyer running against billionaires. Don't be a sucker. What? Wow, look at that. $20 tip. Clamor23 in the chat. Hey, Dan, I know you don't want us to send you money. I genuinely don't. It's not a scam. So buy a pizza for the crew to keep them satiated. All right, Jasmine, you got to buy, Clamor just bought the crew some pizza with a $20 tip. So, yeah, man, although it's a big crew, so I'll have to throw in a little extra. Okay, Clamor, thank you, Clamor23. Fantastic, you win. That was very nice of you, but I really don't want you to send. If you want to send it, it's fine. I love Rumble, but I try to keep everything free. I'm doing my best. Hey, folks, you know what? I'm not a big gambler, but I've been having a lot of fun looking at marketplace predictions for everything from politics, especially now, to sports. And Kalshi is where I get the best insight on predictions. From sports to politics to finance or any variety of markets people are monitoring, Kalshi.com is a bookmark I use. You should check it out. Kalshi. I featured them in my last election special. They were spot on. Our president was elected as predicted. Kalshi.com is one of the only places where you can trade on real-world events in all 50 states. Click the link in the description and get a free $10 credit when you trade $100. It's not just politics or economics. They've got markets on everything from sports to pop culture to climate predictions. Kalshi has a pulse on what the world thinks will happen. Click the link in the description, Kalshi.com, Kalshi.com/r/Bongino. Click the link in the description and get a free $10 credit when you trade $100. You must be 21 and the purchaser must be present in the state where the trade is placed. See important disclosures at Kalshi.com. Kalshi is subject to U.S. regulatory oversight by the CFTC. I've been really kind of hurting to get this guest on the show for a really long time. So honored to finally make it happen. He has a new book out. His name is Gad Saad. The book is fantastic. It is tearing up the charts. It is called Suicidal Empathy. This is just a blueprint for the left's whole attitude of empathy without ownership. Gad, welcome to the show. Congrats on the success of the book.
Oh, thank you so much. One thing I should say, I don't like it when my host has more testosterone than me. I'm already feeling emasculated.
That's a very nice compliment. Although at 51, I'm not sure how true that is anymore. You know, I joke with people all the time, Gad, it's all show muscles. They don't actually do anything. So with all this arthritis, I'm falling apart. So the book is just the topic of everyone's conversation on X and elsewhere. It's really a diagnosis of this whole leftist ideology of what you call suicidal empathy, the left's idea that they should have empathy without ownership. And, you know, I had mentioned to you, we were chatting earlier, how I had a debate with Geraldo once on Hannity. It was about illegal immigration. And I asked Geraldo a very simple question. Well, candidly, I said, Geraldo, how many illegals have you taken in and fostered or what? And the answer was none. And you see this everywhere. It's the whole idea with school choice and elsewhere. Like they send their kids to private schools, but we should definitely, you know, fight school choice for everyone else. That's why it's suicide, because this is happening in their own blue cities.
Indeed. So let me give for your listeners and viewers sort of a general quick description of what suicidal empathy is. In the book, I'm definitely not arguing that empathy is a bad thing, as many hit pieces have already proclaimed that that's what I'm doing. Empathy is a perfectly rational virtue to possess. We are a social species. So for you and I, Dan, to have a meaningful conversation, I need to put myself in your mind and you vice versa. That's called cognitive empathy or theory of mind. But like Aristotle explained to us several thousand years ago, too little of something is not good and too much of something is not good. Much of life is about finding that sweet spot. And that exactly applies to empathy. If I have no empathy, I'm likely to be a psychopath. If I have too much empathy, so if empathy hyperfires in the wrong situations toward the wrong targets, you get suicidal empathy.
And, you know, we've discussed this often on my show through the 10 years we've been doing this in context of the work of someone I know you're familiar with, Thomas Sowell, just a legend. And he brings up this idea of empathy a lot as well. But the left, one of the reasons I think the left are always so angry and upset is this utopia fallacy that there's somehow, we don't live in a society of trade-offs. That, oh, it would just be great if there was no poverty. Well, that's great. But if your idea of no poverty is to then take excessive amounts of capital from wealth generators, there's a trade-off there in jobs and economic growth to, quote, redistribute. The left never talks like that. Like as conservatives, we, you know, me and people in the space, we have to give people honest answers. And honest answers are really hard when you're comparing society to utopia that doesn't exist.
Exactly. So in the book, in Suicidal Empathy, I talk about taboo trade-offs, right? So it's exactly what Sowell referred to, that there are no optimal solutions. There is only trade-offs. There's only pros and cons. If you do this, these are the costs. If you do that, these are the alternative costs. And so exactly to your point, instead of calling it utopia, I call it unicornia, right? The progressive wakes up every morning and he's angry. He's got existential angst. I live on stolen land. It was built on slavery. I'm Islamophobic. I'm transphobic. I'm part of the patriarchy. And therefore, after I complete my regimen of self-flagellation, I will, around the corner lies unicornia. If only I could burn down the current society, then we will all live in Kumbaya land. So Thomas Sowell is a legend. He diagnosed the problem many decades ago, and I'm only adding to that.
I played a clip of you earlier in the show with Marissa Street talking about how a lot of leftist progressives, whatever, you know, euphemism you want to use for modern leftism, how they're just chronically upset, and how conservatives, you know, again, nobody's perfect. We're not just talking about any kind of utopia ourselves, but how conservatives are generally happier. And I love the whole explanation about how if you believe society is perfectible and we're always just 5 minutes away, it's like you're just like, oh my gosh, this really stinks. If we could just do this one more thing. But when you're a conservative and you accept what you just said, which is truth, inviolable truth, that society's not perfectible. There's only trade-offs involved. Like we'll do this if we get that, and we'll try to Pareto optimize things. then you live your life realistically. You don't live your life thinking you're always 5 minutes away from this unicornia you were just discussing.
Well, so in one of my previous books, in The Parasitic Mind, I talk about how human minds can be parasitized not only by actual physical brainworms, but they could be parasitized by ideological brainworms. And each of these ideological brainworms, regrettably, as a professor of 32 years, I'm here to say, they were all spawned on university campuses because it takes intellectuals to come up with some of the dumbest ideas. And here again, I share Thomas Sowell's repulsion towards many of these ivory tower intellectuals who really do live in La La Land. But the reason why they live in La La Land, to your point about, unicornia or utopia being around the corner, is that those parasitic ideas free us from the pesky shackles of reality. So, for example, postmodernism, right, is the ultimate granddaddy of parasitic ideas because there are no objective truths. Up is down, men are women, slavery is freedom, war is peace. And that liberates me from the constraints of reality. But of course, it is rooted in complete nonsense, and that's why conservatives are happy.
We're talking to Gad Saad, if you're listening on Apple and Spotify, author of the new mega bestseller, Suicidal Empathy. There is a copy of the book. Let me not block out his name right there. There you go. Go pick up a copy today, wherever you get your books. Gad, this is an offshoot of this critical theory that became critical race theory later. This idea that the white male patriarchy is the fountain of all power, that knowledge is a construct of power, therefore you should just distrust everything. But from that comes the insane idea that there's no objective truth. It's why, liberals who subscribe to this nonsense will question math, like this 3 + 3 = 6, which is an objectively true fact. I mean, you lay out 6 blocks on a table, you can break them into groups of 3s. It's not complicated. But, I've tried to explain to people, I think that's why, with this whole idea of suicidal empathy, you get this unicornia. You get this idea on the left, like we should challenge objective truth, like God, faith, family, and values. I think they see it as a challenge to the state, which is totally subjective. If I want to take money from successful people and redistribute it to, people who haven't made it, maybe because they're lazy, maybe because they're not, I have to treat people differently. So if you're a leftist, you can't have any objective truth like faith or family because it wipes out your whole ideology.
Exactly. So one of the reasons why I'm leaving Canada eminently so, you may or may not know, I've accepted a position at University of Mississippi at the Declaration of Independence Center for the Study of American Freedom. How about that, speaking to the former deputy director of the FBI? Wow. You need a Canadian to be defending American freedoms, apparently. But one of the reasons why I'm leaving Canada is, to your point, is because of the parasitic taxation. Within the ethos of Canada is this internalized idea that it's unfair that Gad Saad writes books that sell, many, many copies, and therefore he gets book royalties. Shouldn't he be kinder and more empathetic to those who don't write best-selling books? And therefore, let's take 58% of his book royalties. Did you hear that, Dan? This is not even by the standards of what people complain in California. I'm only allowed 42% of the neuronal firings of my mind. My story of what I went through in Lebanon, 58% is owned by the Quebec and Canadian government. And that is all rooted in dysregulated empathy. We need to equalize income so that we could all be equally mediocre.
Gad, I'd love to get your take on this. I'm optimistic about the future, and it's not unreasonable optimism. I'll put meat on the bone. We use reason as conservatives. We don't do the utopia fallacy ourselves. Number one, artificial intelligence, you can't ask a system to be reasonable and ask it to block out reason. So going forward, when people start to ask questions like they would ask of journalists in the past, like, what's the rate of police mowing down innocent, unarmed black men? The journalists would probably be like, oh, it's out of control or whatever. You ask AI, they're going to give you actual numbers. So if you have an honest AI system going forward, there's going to be a fourth estate arbiter of truth. Second, academia. You've got these kids with cell phone cameras now going into classrooms, recording people saying things like, 9/11 wasn't too bad. And professors have gotten hip to this. even in entertainment. You're seeing now a real backlash. These woke movies, people don't want to see them. I mean, I could go on. I'll throw one more at you. The independent journalists, the Nick Shirleys of the world, who just show up at a Leering Center and say, "Hey, do you guys have actually any kids in there?" And it goes viral. Like, you're not going to be able to hide government fraud in the future. I am unbelievably optimistic about where we're going against this woke virus that causes, as you say in the book, suicidal empathy. There's the book. What's your take on that?
So I'm of two minds, and it's not because I'm being coy or I'm trying to equivocate, but I'm truthfully of two minds. So on the one hand, I'm very optimistic in the sense that there is a template by which we could implement autocorrective policies that redress the ship in the right direction. Now, here's the pessimistic part. I see no evidence that much of the Western countries are willing to even move 1 millimeter in implementing those autocorrective policies, right? So the optimistic part is that there is an actual solution that we can implement, right? You want your country to no longer be flooded with people who don't share our foundational principles. Stop accepting people from those countries. But then that would be non-empathetic, Dan. That would be mean. That would not be kind. Now, the good news is that the United States currently, in my view, has about stage 2 suicidal empathy. Canada is at stage 5. It already has exceeded stage 4. But I am praying, screaming to you guys, please don't go the way Canada and Europe has gone. There's still chance. Hopefully, when I move to the US, I can contribute to that battle. But please wake up out of your stupor.
Listen, I totally relate to your guarded pessimism on the matter because the consequences of losing are so severe. I mean, the consequences of losing are economic destruction and potentially death. I mean, it's not like we haven't seen it before. But one of the things about the United States, Gad, I think you'd recognize too, and to extent a lot of the global democracies, is the corrective mechanism takes time, but it always happens. I mean, whether it was Thatcher, whether it was Giuliani in New York, whether it was the Reagan Revolution after decades, I think I say regretfully, unfortunately, we used to have a T-shirt we used to sell called, it said, "Is it bad enough?" It was one of our best sellers. We used to donate the proceeds to charity. And having grown up in New York City, everyone said to themselves when the bond market left, it's over. Like, we had 2,000 homicides a year, the David Dinkins, Ed Koch years. It was an absolute apocalypse. I mean, it had a movie about it called Escape from New York. And people were like, wow, this could be real. But then Giuliani comes in after losing his first election to Dinkins. People forget that. He wins, I discussed it yesterday, and then he wins re-election in 10-1 Democrat to Republican in New York City by 17 points. So when people see this contrast of these visions and the implementation happens, generally there is a corrective. But to your point, New York's right back where we started with Mamdani. So, you may in fact be right.
So look, there is something akin to a Darwinian selection process in terms of the better ideas ultimately being selected. So in that sense, again, I'd like to put my weight on the optimism end of the scale. The problem comes, and I think this will resonate with you, Dan, that demography is truly destiny, right? I mean, the old maxim holds true. So that there was a time when there was no Jew hatred in Canada. I moved from Lebanon to escape the Lebanese Civil War in the mid-70s. And for the next 25 years, I never had to look over my shoulder. We are Lebanese Jews. But then once you've had a demographic shifts whereby millions of people came from societies where it was perfectly reasonable to be genocidally hating on the Jews, well, it's not surprising, and you don't need a fancy professor to tell you that there's going to be an increase in Jew hatred in Canada. So while I agree with you that the epistemology of how ideas are selected should lead us to be optimistic, demography will kill that optimism if we're not very careful as to who we let into the country.
I'm glad you brought that up. We're talking to Gad Saad, author of the new book, Suicidal Empathy. Gad, this whole concept, whether it involves in something I've spoken about on my show probably daily, this resurgence you see, sadly, every few years of this persistent Jew hatred who become a convenient target of global rage. And there's a very organized campaigns behind this. I noticed it just recently. Again, I've been on Twitter a long time. You can see it develop. This idea of collective guilt. forget the Jews for a minute. This is already, it's not like we don't have hundreds of tragic examples, whether it's in Rwanda, whether it was in, the Bolsheviks, whether it was with the Holocaust, whether it was with slavery, this idea of collective guilt. I mean, how many body bags do we have to pile up before in unison, both dominant political parties around the world, there's always a split, but you get the point. You get your collectivists versus your free marketeers. Before both parties go, hey guys, I'm just not willing to accept millions more deaths and torture and destruction. It was kind of a bad idea the last time it was tried. I mean, never has there been an idea so universally devastating, this concept of collective guilt. And right now you're seeing it again, with the Jews. It's really exhausting.
Yeah, to link it back to Thomas Sowell, that we mentioned him earlier. There's an incredible interview that he had, I think, with Peter Robinson from the Hoover Institution, where he was asked, right? Yeah, he was asked, Professor Sowell, what's it going to take for people to stop hating on the Jews? Do you remember what Thomas Sowell's answer was? It was a one-word answer, one of the greatest answers of all time. Do you remember that?
No, I don't.
He just paused and he said, fail. In other words, the reason why people hate the Jews so much is actually something that I can bring in my psychology training into our conversation. So there's something in psychology called the self-serving bias, whereby people attribute successes internally and attribute their failures externally. So I did well on the exam because I'm a smart guy and I studied hard. It's because of me that I did well. I did poorly on the exam because Professor Saad is a mean bastard and he didn't give a fair exam, right? Now, why is it that you would turn all of your failures onto the Jew? Well, there is something that is universal about the Jew, which is typically they are a very minuscule minority within a much broader ecosystem, and yet they box well above their weight class, right? So wherever you see Jews, they're always 0.2% of the population, 1% of the population, but they seem to be really in influential positions. It becomes very easy to turn all of my personal failings and my collective failings on the diabolical Jew.
Gad, you're correct, obviously. But I think it speaks to something so much more pernicious, because you see this phenomenon in other minority groups too, the Japanese, Filipinos, who succeed and punch well above their weight, punch 2 weight classes above. They're kept out of colleges. You need an SAT score to like 62,000 to get into medical school if you're Japanese. It's true. I mean, a little bit of hyperbole, but you get the point. It's accurate, exaggerated, but accurate. But with the Jews, there's always this like special degree of hatred, and that, I think it's you see it now. It's dangerous. I mean, this thing with Mamdani, all he had to do was show up at the Israeli Day Parade. You don't have to go out there and say, I love Bibi Netanyahu. Listen, I've got my own beefs of geopolitics with every country, Israel included. I'm America first. But that's not why he wasn't there. He just wanted to be sure to stick it to the Jews to let them know, I really dislike this particular group.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny because as I mentioned earlier, we had to leave Lebanon, under imminent threat of execution in the mid-70s. My parents, on one of their return trips to Lebanon, were kidnapped by Abu Nidal's group, Fatah. And so what we see in October 7th is basically called my childhood. And so even someone like me who grew up in a world infested with Jew hatred, and to your point, I'm today mystified by the amount of Jew hatred that I receive in online settings. I sort of long for the good old days where I was wearing running shoes to run so fast that I could avoid those who were going to decapitate me. Because if I get on Twitter and I read those messages, I long for the Nazis to return. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's scary. A lot of that is I say to people all the time, I don't like when people say, well, Twitter isn't real life. No, I promise you it is. But it's real life exaggerated. I've been on X, 10 years. I remember when I had, I got my first 100 followers. I thought it was amazing. I have 7.4 million now. Wow. So I get whatever everyone else is getting, I get geometrically magnified. And being that I am rabidly against anti-Semitism, I see the rage botting, and a lot of it's just AstroTurf. I think you saw it in the Kentucky race, where all of a sudden it's calmed down dramatically. A lot of that money's dried up. Let me ask you one last question. Again, we're talking to Gad Saad, please do us a favor. Pick up this book today. It is worth your time. Suicidal Empathy by Gad Saad. I keep looking at his name right there. The Pratt campaign out in Los Angeles, Spencer Pratt. Well, you talk about just an epidemic of suicidal empathy. Los Angeles has got to be it. Hey, we've got to take care of the drug users rather than criminalizing and incarcerating. They've got a problem. A lot of people have problems. I've got problems. I get it. But the problem isn't letting them shoot up on the street with the fentanyl flopping. That's not empathy. That is just encouraging the malicious behavior that has destroyed these people's lives. And I bring up the Pratt campaign because when you put a spotlight, kind of harks back to what I said before. Just consider him for a second, an independent journalist running. All he does is go out with a camera and go, hey, look, the streetlights are out on this very dangerous bridge because we couldn't, the junkies are stealing the copper wires. Goes to show you what you said before. When you reasonably have this Darwinian battle of ideas, conservatism always wins because it's got meat on the bone to back it up. There's no successful example of this liberal utopian city anywhere that they can point out as a model.
Oh, because it hasn't been properly tried, as you know, right? So communism
the next time. We'll get them next time.
Years. Exactly. Bernie Sanders, Mamdani, and occasional Cortex AOC. Now, by the way, apparently Michael Savage also came up with that moniker, and there's a battle to see who came up with it. Fine, let him take credit for occasional Cortex. So all these three architects of true communism, once they usher the proper ideology, then we shall live in infinite happiness. But until then, it's not the proper form of communism that's been tried.
I got to run, but I bring this up all the time, how the whole we'll get them next time because it was just the wrong people is actually a counter argument to the argument the liberals are making. If the people you've deemed the experts could not figure it out because human beings are fallible, then how is it that your system is going to fix human fallibility for everyone else if even your experts are fallible? I've tried to explain that to leftists in debates, and they scratch their head because they don't have an answer. So you've tried every series of experts in human history from the time we've been Homo sapiens sapiens, and it hasn't worked. But you're going to find a new set of infallible experts that has never surfaced before. It's just the most bold counter argument I've ever seen.
I was going to say, there you go, using reason, aka white supremacy again, Dan.
Right.
Try to control your white supremacy.
The patriarchy is killing me again, which is funny because people attribute, I am white, I'm Italian, Irish, and German. And then online, people attack me. They're like, that black guy, Dan Bongino. I'm like, you guys are unbelievable. Like, you're so obsessed with race. You don't even know what I am, and you already hate my guts. It's insane. Gad, congrats on the book. Folks, go pick it up. Do it today. Suicidal Empathy by the great Gad Saad. Gad, that was a fantastic interview. Thanks so much for your time. We're going to clip it up and get it out there too. Thanks,
Cheers.
buddy.
Take care.
Gad
Bye.
Saad, folks. Just that telling you, man, I've been dying to get him on the show for such a long time, but I've been gone for a year, number one. And on the podcast, as you know, in the past, we almost never did guests. So this long form interviews worked out perfect for us. I really hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Make sure you check out Haley Karania back at noon at rumble.com/Haley, Hayley. Check out Vince every day, Vince Ace on Rumble, rumble.com/Vince. His show is exploding too. Download the Rumble app. It is free. Download it on your smart TV. Do you know you can watch a show on your TV? It costs something. Just go to the search thing on your Samsung, whatever TV, put Rumble, download the app, put it on your home screen. There you go, watching your TV. Or you can watch it on the web too at rumble.com/Bongino. All of it is free. Just give us a follow. We had to update it. We added another 10,000 followers. We were at 3.64. We're now at 3.65 million followers. So thanks to you. We really appreciate it. Click that follow button. Now we'll see you back here tomorrow at 10 a.m.
Hey there, I'm Vince.
I'm Haley Karania,
Host of Vince.
host of Scrolling with Haley.
You can always catch my show right here
on the Bongino Report.
live, 8 a.m. Eastern, weekday mornings.
Weekdays at noon. If you miss it, no worries. The show will always be
Right here
and anywhere you find podcasts. Thanks for watching.